I literally got in the car and drove to Atlanta.
Okay.
Got here, and social work was well defined in a whole nother aspect. I would have been responsible for not just the metro area, but the suburbs as well. I had to have a certain type of vehicle. The pay was like $20,000 less. And I was like, wow, so I need a whole new career. I always thought I would be a social worker. What am I going to do?
Right.
I went to a temp agency and I said, hey, give me any job. I just moved here a few weeks ago. I need anything. And she said, okay. She said, well, with your degrees, we'll find you something. 3 weeks passed and she called me back and she said, no one's calling you and I think it's because of your name.
Right. Wow.
I said, really? She was like, yeah, there's not many Shaquanas and you just don't want to be that here.
Mm.
And I said, where I come from, that's not uncommon. I can't be Shaquana. She was like, no, ma'am, you sure can't? And I said, so, okay. She said, well, I'm going to change your name on your resume. I'll call you when you get a hit. So I'm like, what I'm going to be? What name I'm going to be? Which was so weird for me, right? My family is very cultural. My father is a former Black Panther, civil rights movement, very much power to the people. So I was like, oh, man, I can't tell my father. They about to change my name, right?
Right.
So long story short, she called me back and said, you got a hit at Yellow Freight, Yellow Roadway Trucking Company. And she said, but your name is Shay. And I said, Shay? I said, why I gotta be Shay? She said, oh, that's a pleasant name. People love one syllable names. It's catchy. I was like, okay, I gotta be Shay. So she said, your interview is tomorrow morning. Look professional. You're gonna be the front desk clerk. I'm like, front desk? I'm from Brooklyn. I am not front desk. I was like, I'm not front desk. Please don't make me front desk. She was like, oh, you have the look. I have the look. Okay, so I can't be Shaquana, but apparently I have a look. So I was being stereotyped, and I had not been used to that. Where I came from, it was many Shaquanas. Many people looked like me. I came here, and that was not the case. And that was in about 2004.
Right.
Got to the interview. I'm sitting there with other people. You know how many times they called Shay, and I never answered? End of the day, they came out like, okay, we're done with interviews. Ma'am, I'm sorry, who are you here to see? And I was like, I'm here for the interview for a front desk clerk. She's like, hey, what's your name? And I was like, oh. She's like, are you Shay? I was like, I'm Shay.
Right.
I forgot I'm supposed to be Shay.
Yeah.
Anyway, they interviewed me and they said, oh, you have the look for the front desk. You have the look. I said, okay. So I got the job on the spot, started the next week. It was hot. It was so hot. I mean, you guys, it's hot in Atlanta.
Right.
And I had not ever experienced this type of heat without having nearby water or the large buildings for shade. It was really hot. So by the time I started the next week, I got my hair braided to keep it off my neck. And it was like, it'll be braided for the summer. I don't have to worry about it. And all of a sudden, I didn't have to look anymore. And I was like, she was like, oh, are you going to look urban all the time? I was like, urban. So what urban means? I said, oh, I'm urban. I'm from the city.
Right.
She was like, they all looked at each other. And she's like, okay, you can stay like this for the first day. But I had on full business attire, pumps. And I truly did not get it, right? And I've always prided myself in being very well spoken and articulate. So I've never had an issue with being able to express myself well in any culture. So I was like, is it the way I'm speaking? Is it too fast? Do I sound too New York? I never thought in a million years it was my braids until braids for us stay in for like the month.
Right.
By the end of the week, she just came to me and was like, okay, you have the weekend to change back to how we met you. And I was like, please, just give it to me straight. I'm not doing a good job of reading between the lines. And she said, the coils in your hair. I was like, coils, the braids. She was like, yes, please. I was like, oh man, I paid like $2 to get my hair braided. She wanted out. It's hot. And I've always been able to sit on my hair. It's always been that long. And I'm like, man, I can't survive in Atlanta like this. But anyway, I was like, well, I need a job. What I'm going to do? I went home, took my braids out, came back with this bun. And a guy from Miami approached me. He said, hey, I'm going to just give it to you straight. You're not gonna make it here at the front desk. They don't like you. He was like, your culture just way too thick for the South. So I'm going to bring you in the back terminal with me. And I'm going to teach you something different. I said, I don't want a CDL. I am not driving a truck. He was like, no. We're going to get someone else for the front desk. And I'm just going to move you to the back. I'm like, okay. He took me to the back and he started teaching me the export documentation to export freight to the Caribbean. And I said, but it's a trucking company. He was like, no, we're actually a freight forwarder as well. We only do exports to the Caribbean. He was like, and after I'm done with you, you'll never look for a job again in your life. And I'm like, at a trucking company? But he was so cool. So he literally taught me export documentation. And I tell people, don't ever shy from learning paperwork. Because every field of a piece of paper teach you some type of law or what governs that box, right? The box represents something. So I became intrigued, like, what this box mean? Why am I putting this data element in these fields? And he just sat down with me and taught me it all from scratch. Yellow acquired roadway, and they began to let go all temporary employees. And I said, well, I've been here over a year. I need medical benefits. I got to find something else. This is, I have all this education. What am I going to do?
Right.
And he said, well, I want you to meet my wife, and we're going to help you. We're going to teach you and show you what type of jobs you qualify for now. So I still didn't even know my value. I didn't really know what to even apply for. And he and his wife, they were retiring. He said, I'm going to retire. We got to get you out of here before this acquisition is done, and I'll help you find jobs. And he was literally helping me understand what I qualified for. I was very grateful for that, always will be. That landed me a position at a chemical company of global footprint. They had an office in every major continent. I took the job there as a logistics analyst, so they taught me import and export. The great part about that was I got to sit down and actually sit in the meetings in the rooms with global freight negotiations.
Okay.
So how do we negotiate freight on the ocean? How do we negotiate freight to go via air, rail, and truck? I was very fortunate also because it was a chemical company. I learned hazmat. So I got certified in hazardous material by every mode of transportation. So air, ocean, rail, road. But I've never been in a truck in my life. So I would certify the placards that go on the trucks.
Right.
I would certify the packages and the dangerous good documents to say what was explosive, what was flammable, what was an oxidizer, etc. So I'm the weird person on the road trip with my family, and they're playing punch buggy, no punch back. Not me. I'm like, you know what that package
You
means?
pointing things out.
I'm gonna tell you right now, that truck.
That's explosive.
Right.
No doubt, no
So
doubt.
I'm that one on the road trip, right? So everybody finds it funny, like, Mom, what that means?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I got to learn that, and then I was doing global logistics, and I had to specialize in seasons. Chinese New Year, which for the Chinese culture would be Spring Festival. I had to become quickly culturally an expert in culture so that I didn't offend the other cultures. And that's how I got my name Shaq. So
Simplified it.
I had a team in China that reported to me.
Okay.
And they had adopted American names because their names were difficult to pronounce for American.
Right. They're like David and Michael, but their name is like Chin.
What was funny, right. And you know what was really funny? They had taken names from movies. So the guy I worked with the most, name was Jackie Chan. And all this time, like a crazy person, I really thought that was his name. So I used to meet with them at night all the time because of the time difference.
Yeah.
And one evening I said, he was the one that spoke English the best. So I said, Jackie, you guys never called me Shaquana ever, right? And he said, oh, in my culture, QU is C, and it doesn't make sense for us.
Right.
So we just can't get those syllables out. And I was like, oh. So he said, we have American names for you. I said, oh, so you want me to have a Chinese name? He said, no, just something one syllable. So I said, you have an American name? He was like, yeah, I'm Jackie Chan. I was like, oh, Jackie Chan, the movie?
Oh,
he was
my
like,
God.
yes, Jackie Chan, the movie.
Yeah.
So anyway, a couple of weeks later, they asked me if I would take on Shaq because Shaquille O'Neal was their favorite basketball
That's
player.
funny. That's funny.
And they was like, we call him the Beast in the paint.
Okay.
He's he's a center.
Yeah.
He can play center. He's so
For
big.
sure.
And they was like, you're a beast in global logistics. I was like, yes, I am Shaq forever in this industry. So I took on Shaq. I loved it way more than Shay, of course.
Yeah.
I got to actually have some say in that. I loved it.